I feel like, because for me, like first year for both of us was poor. I mean, I failed first year entirely. You got scraped through,
Yeah, literally.
and then it was nuts. It must have been last year, if not this year, because you went from zero to like 100% just like that. At least in my eyes. Because
Yeah,
for me, it takes time to like get rid of old habits one by one and replace them with good ones. Whereas you kind of just went, nah, I'm reading every day now, screw it. And then,
yeah, I get you. It was hard, but like I remember what clicked was during second year where I was like just messing up completely. I wasn't going to lectures. I was trying to apply to internships with like a really bad like CV. I wasn't even prepared for any applications. Um, and just seeing all my friends get all these like internships, slash spring weeks, all of these things, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this used to be me. And that's when things really hit me. And then like during the second year, it didn't get better. Like I was in like there's so many different problems, like the financial side of things, where I was in like massive debt, like overdraft, all of these things, and it just really affected me. And I was trying to work at the same time. And usually, like I would say, like I'm quite a self-aware, someone that's quite self-aware, but during second year, it was like something, my brain wasn't working completely. I don't know what it was. Like looking back now, I just was not, I didn't know my limit because I was trying to do too many things at once. I was trying to like say, okay, I'm going to do uni, but also work, but also do applications. And it was a big shock to me. Um, and I think this stemmed from the fact that I didn't do well in first year. Like I was still in that kind of slump, of just not being on job, not being like very scheduled and organized as I usually was like 2 years ago when I was 16, 17. So I lost that kind of like way of how I used to think, how I used to be very organized and determined. But what really I think clicked was when during that summer, I just I made sure that so after seeing all my friends like succeed and get all these internships and thinking shit that literally I should be where I should be with these guys at the moment, like doing my summer internship, enjoying ourselves, with like a good career plan. So that really like kind of made me think like, what have I done wrong? Then I made sure that I knuckled down, and it was really hard because I remember I did fail like a unit in the second year, and I thought like it was all over, but I was able to like get those. I was able to use my extenuating circumstances, which was all the things I just mentioned, like all the stress and anxiety that I had when I was trying to balance all these things.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but in the summer, I made sure that I like knuckled down, thinking like this can never happen again. I need to get back to where I was when I was in A levels, and made sure that I get back that mindset. So I made sure that I knuckled down. I grinded through like retail in the summer. I worked at Clark's, and that was awful. But I made sure that I just had to like knuckle down. Did my reading every day, and I read a book that really I put a lot of this kind of change to this one book. It's called Outliers, Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And this really changed my way of thinking and just made sure that I knew what I had to do. Um, so the book is all about like how there's so many outliers in life, and success, this is how one form of success is made. Um, it showed me how much luck there is in this, like in life, and just in terms of how some successful people are just very, very lucky. Like there's one case where if Bill Gates was born like a year later or 1 year earlier, he would literally not be where he is now. Just because of the fact that his school at that time, at this specific year, bought this computer, X, Y, Z. Like, there's just so much like variables into this, in this, and it really struck me because it showed me how much luck there is. And there's another interesting aspect of this as well, like how sports people, I think it was the Canadian hockey team or something, one of the hockey teams in Canada. There was like a little case study that he did, and the whole roster, most of them were born from like September to December
Wow.
because of the fact that the Canadian hockey system has like a bias because of the year groups, because of the academic year groups, and these guys are going to be more developed as like physically because they're older, technically.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Really interested to see that. So it just made me realize how many factors there are that go into like people becoming successful. And there was another case which was really, really interesting about how this is what I think the main point was for me about how like really rich people, private school people, like people that can afford to put the kids in private school, but how these really wealthy people they're literally they're literally guaranteed for success, a lot of them anyway, because from an early age they've been groomed in the sense because, for example, like whereas we would never have had like the opportunity to do multiple music lessons slash drama lessons slash all of these after school clubs,
Yeah.
tutoring, these guys would have all of this as in a schedule as a young kid. From a lot of these parents would put all these lessons into them from an early age, like tutoring, piano lessons, swimming, all of this stuff. But whereas we wouldn't have had anywhere near the same opportunities. And by the time we're like teenagers, these guys would be so much more like polished than us in the sense of in the real world, in the sense of the real world. Uh,
Mm.
they'll have had all these opportunities, and even the way they think, their mindset they're much more assertive. They can get what they want. They're more likely to get what they want because of the way they talk. They're able to interact with other really successful people. So they're already like nurtured in that sense. Whereas we
Mm.
wouldn't have the same opportunities as they had in the way we think, the way we talk. So this hampers a lot of our potential. Whereas these guys would literally have had all of this fed to them. And there was this one case where there was like a really naturally smart guy from like a really rural area in America. And he was naturally smart, but he was able to get into like a really good university. But I think there was like a big problem in terms of the fact that he had to like go back for a year to work on his farm with his family or something. Um,
Okay.
but whereas usually, so he wasn't able to persuade the uni to let him take a year out and come back
Oh, no.
or something like that. I think that was the case anyway,
Yeah.
because he just accepted it. So he wasn't able to certain or yeah, try to persuade the person. But whereas someone else who has grown up in that kind of mind, with that mindset of how to speak to people and persuade people, how to persuade people of similar stature to them, um, on how to do different things and persuade them to make these like X, Y, Z decisions. He wasn't able to do that because he wasn't nurtured in that sense. He wasn't able to like say take no for no for an answer.
Yeah.
No, I mean he was able to take no for an answer, whereas others other people who have been groomed in that sense and able to speak to people in different ways, um, would have been able to do this. So it was quite unfortunate because he was naturally smart, very, very smart, but he wasn't able to actually have a university education because of this. And so like it made me realize like all these different opportunities and um, just so much luck that is involved in all of this. Um, it made me realize like how fortunate I was. And it gave me that kind of mindset, like, yeah, I have to knuckle down. Like, have had all these opportunities that people at the same age, regardless of whether they're like rich or poor, have had. Many people wouldn't have had the same experience as me. And it made me realize that, yeah, I have to just like knuckle down, make sure that I get back to that same kind of mindset. Um, just because, as I said, there's so much luck involved, and the fact that I've been lucky enough to have all these opportunities and still done relatively well, despite my 2 years of like 2 years of a slump. It made me realize, yeah, like I can't take this for granted. I'm not rich. I can't fall back on anything.
Yeah.
My dad doesn't own X company, like so. Mm, that made me realize, like, yeah, how to flip the switch. um, and from then, yeah, from the summer, I was just like really on it, like just making sure that I made enough money to pay back some debts, making sure that I made it my mission to get a summer internship, which I did. But that's because I put in so much work. Like me and my friends, we did like library sessions where we practiced our interview techniques, where we did applications with each other. I even asked my friend who did an internship at like a asset manager, like so many questions on how they work properly, what division would suit me, just so many different questions that I wouldn't have asked usually. And it made me just understand a lot more of what it takes. So this is what kind of put me back into that mindset. And even uni, like I made sure that I knuckled down because I basically had a second chance, and I made sure that I ensured that I didn't want to slip again. Um, so yeah, that just made me realize like, yeah, I have to knuckle down and realize my potential rather than just let it waste. So that's essentially it. Yeah.